You know that feeling where you've been moving nonstop all day, packing lunches, responding to emails, diffusing sibling arguments, making appointments, remembering to get gas, and then you sit down and realize you weren't in your day at all. You were just holding it all. That's what I want to talk about today. The invisible load of motherhood and the silent pressure that says taking care of yourself is optional, selfish, or a luxury you can't afford. But what if that belief is one of the biggest reasons we're stuck in survival mode? If we haven't met yet, I'm Alicia Brown, licensed marriage and family therapist and parent educator. I help mothers heal emotionally and break generational parenting patterns so they can parent with clarity, connection, and confidence, not just on autopilot. My work is all about making room for moms to trade in survival mode for intentional living so that motherhood can finally feel like something they can exhale in. So if you've been feeling the pressure to hold it all together and still feel like you're not doing enough, I want you to know this space is for you and welcome. A lot of us were raised watching women, especially mothers, put themselves dead last. Maybe your mom never sat down to eat until everyone else was fed. Maybe she skipped her own appointments and prioritized everyone else's health first. Maybe you saw her get praised for how selfless she was while slowly disappearing in her role. So even now, when you want to be intentional, when you've read the books, listened to the podcast, saved the parenting post, you still feel like actually caring for yourself is extra or a luxury if there's time. And that shows up in ways like feeling guilty for needing a break, over functioning until you crash, avoiding support because asking feels like failing. And here's the kicker. We call this normal, but it's not. Caring for yourself doesn't mean spa days or hair appointments. It means making choices that protect your energy, your peace, and your well being. So you have something left for you, not just everyone else. Let's shine a light on the cost of not considering yourself. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that emotional labor and caregiving responsibilities significantly increase anxiety, burnout, and chronic stress in women, especially mothers. And the kicker, it's not just about physical tasks. It's about everything mentally and emotionally while still smiling, parenting gently, and being available to everyone else, carrying that load. The cost? You can't think clearly. You're quick to snap. You're running on fumes. You lose the ability to be curious about your child because your brain is in survival mode. You can't be an intentional parent when your body believes you're in danger every day. And so your nervous system doesn't know the difference between, say, a bear in the forest or a lion chasing you or a never ending to do list. Why? Because when your body is in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn mode, all it knows to do is to protect you from whatever perceived threat that is around it. And so in that moment, the intensity of lion chasing you or a never ending to do list mirror each other. And so the effects from that is like you're feeling consumed, overwhelmed, frustrated, overstimulated, scared, whatever the emotion or feeling might be. And so I asked my mamas this before, and I'm going to ask the same to you is knowing this, why don't we seek out relief, a lifeline, paying attention to our window of tolerance so we know to tap in for support? Why, as mothers, do we allow ourselves to stay in this mode of parenting? Here's what I know. You already know self care matters. You've heard it. You hear it all the time, anywhere and everywhere. But let's see the real reasons you haven't shifted yet. For one, you're scared that if you slow down, everything will fall apart. You're so used to carrying the load that the thought of stopping makes you nervous because you don't know who would pick up the slack. Another reason is you believe that being strong means not needing anything. And so you've gotten so used to holding it all together that asking for help feels like failure. and depending on someone else feels risky. So you just keep pushing through even when it's too much. Another reason is you feel like parenting means always putting your child first, even if it drains you. And somewhere along the way, you learn that being a good mom means self sacrifice. So you ignore your needs, silence your feelings, and you keep showing up completely empty because that's what you think love is supposed to look like. Another reason would be that you think it's too late to start showing up differently. You replay all the moments you wish you've handled better and wonder if the damage is already done. But the truth is, change doesn't have an expiration date. They just need to see you trying now. And so these, in turn, are learned beliefs. They're not truths. So through messages, experiences, expectations, and even interactions, you've come to adopt these beliefs as your own. And just like that, you learned them, but you can unlearn them little by little. And so here's how real change starts. Because we don't have to stay stuck in believing those learned thoughts and beliefs. So I didn't start this work with a dramatic transformation, right? I started with tiny daily shifts. Like I'm keeping it 100 with you when I say I had to do what was feasible and realistic with the time that I had in my home and with my day. So one of the things that I did as a small shift was speaking with more curiosity instead of control. So that looked like me trying to gain the source of my overwhelm, frustration, if I'm overstimulated, whatever the case may be, by asking in the moment, what do I need? Simple as that. Whenever I felt overwhelmed, frustrated, overstimulated, I just stopped and I asked myself, what do I need? And so I was able to pinpoint that frustration back to something non related to whatever my kids were doing or had done, because everything that I was experiencing was related back to a stressor that had completely nothing to do with what they just engaged in, whether it was bickering or they were upset at each other or didn't do something that I asked them to do. It could have been that stress that I was experiencing was over a work deadline. And when my kids acted out or did something, it was just the tip of the iceberg for me. So it was just one more thing to set me over, right? And so when I start to speak with more curiosity with myself, instead of trying to control the pieces and just really try to understand what's the root cause, I was able to learn how to limit and decrease those episodes of just reactivity and stress. Another thing that I was able to do was just pause before reacting. I cannot stress enough to my parents, to my clients, that there is so much power in the pause. And this isn't just for parenting. If we as humans, before we did something, before we spoke, just really took the time to just stop and think before we gave an answer or did an action, we can prevent a lot of adverse things from happening. And so just pausing before reacting, even if I still mess up sometimes, I gave myself a lifeline. I gave myself the ability to pay attention to my window of tolerance and reach for help, right? It reminds me of the plane example when we're on the plane and taking care of yourself. Make sure you have your oxygen mask on before you help your neighbor. The whole purpose of us doing that whole protocol and procedure before we even start flying is so that you know what to do in case of an emergency. They don't wait until you're in an emergency to show you how to use your oxygen mask and what to do. Why? At that point in time, your body's not even going to reach for rationale and logic. You're going to be panicking. You're going to be scared. You're going to be fearful. And so you're not going to be acting from that side of your brain. You're going to be acting out of emotion. That's going to take the front seat. They're teaching you in a moment where you're able to focus and they have your full attention and they have your brain being able to comprehend and follow along. And so just like we take that sort of care in preventing any type of adverse thing happening during emergencies, we should do the same thing for our bodies, for our mental health, right? Setting ourselves up for success, being able to find what works for you in the moment when you are stressed, pausing before reacting, finding that your window of tolerance is getting short and it's shrinking throughout the day and kind of making sure that you have something on hold that you can grab to help get you back into a regulated state, that's taking care of you. That's making sure that you are prepping for whatever emergency state might happen in your body. And then another small, tiny daily shifts that I engaged in was just apologizing to my kids without shame. I mean, we grew up with it. We had some parents that believe you apologize to your children, that it just undermines your authority. You want to be able to make them remember that you're the parent, they're the child, they need to listen to you, no questions asked. You have some parents that equate apologizing with weakness, right? So rather than recognizing it as a strength, but if we were to just push all of those thinking patterns to the side and really focus on the benefits of it, we'd see that apologizing to your child is done with discernment and done in the right spirit. It's normalizing being human and making mistakes and showing your child that it's not the end all be all. I have to say one thing that it definitely showed my kids is that as a grown up, I'm still growing up. I'm still learning and being, coming and doing. And so just being able to help them realize that you're human, mistakes will happen, and this is what we do when it does, right? And it's the importance of repairing the rupture. And so I constantly help my parents through navigating that so they don't feel like they're losing their power when it has nothing to do with that and has everything to do with preserving the relationship and strengthening the connection between parent and the child. And when I did these tiny daily shifts, I wasn't yelling as much. I was connecting more to my children and being able to get curious with what's going on with me as well as them. And I was slowing down enough to hear what my child and I actually needed. And little by little, my stress levels came down, our home felt safer, and I started needing less effort to show up the way I wanted. And now we still have hard days. I tell my parents and my mamas when I work with them that the goal and the work that we do together is not to eradicate anything or erase something completely. It's for us to learn how to recognize so that we can catch these things before they happen, or we can lessen the occurrence and minimize it. Because you will still have hard days, but you'll now have tools. You'll now have strategy. You'll have language, you'll have grace. And I've learned how to take care of myself without guilt because I understand how vital it is. So just being able to understand that you will continue learning and continuing to have to shift and change how you understand yourselves and work with your children as they grow and develop, as seasons change. So if you've been stuck in that loop of, I know I need to change, but I don't know where to start, let's make it simple. Here are a few things you can try that take minutes, not hours, because I'm respecting everyone's time, that you can do. The first thing, check in once a day with yourselves. All right. I want you to just ask, what do I need right now? I want you to pause in the moment before you say or do or think anything. Just give yourself a moment to connect with you and ask yourself what you need right now. Pause. And even if you can't do that thing that you named, naming it is power, because what happens is you have been stuck in this loop for so long that you feel that you cannot care for yourself, that there's no time to figure out how to show up better. You need to show up for your family. But when you start to shift your mindset out of being stuck or naming the impossibilities, you start moving towards actualizing change. And so if you stop in a moment and say, I need a moment to myself, I need to step outside just to catch a breath, and you'll start naturally engaging in those ways of providing care and time for you and to you and reaping benefits from that, not just your family. Another thing that you can try is saying no to one thing that drains you more than it feeds you, right? So that could be letting the laundry stay in the basket, ordering dinner instead of cooking, or giving yourself permission to pause. No is a full sentence. You don't owe anybody an explanation. Just do it. Save yourself from being stuck in those loops and those patterns and making sure that you take the time to prioritize you. Another thing is use this phrase with your kids. I'm still learning too. It's not about being perfect, it's about showing growth. It eases up the pressure to be on it or get it right all the time. Our kids tend to not view adults as growing and constantly developing. And so we remember that we're constantly having to adjust and understand the new stages of development that our kids enter. And so with that comes having humility and vulnerability. And then, of course, like just lowering the need to be defensive, engaging in the process of reminding yourself that I need to have grace. I'm learning this as I go. I don't have a book, I don't have a manual. And my child is constantly changing, and I'm having to keep up and learn new ways of engaging, interacting, connecting, and loving. So, grace and mercy for yourselves. And then the final one is just giving yourself permission to want more peace. It doesn't make you selfish. You're not asking for too much. You're asking for what you've always needed. And to me, that means you're finally paying attention to you. So, again, finding time to connect with you, giving yourself time. If you don't, then you can't show up for your family in the way that you want to. And so I know you're tired, not just physically, but emotionally, tired of having to be on it 24/7, but feeling like you're always behind and tired of snapping. But I need you to know it doesn't have to stay this way. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need one small shift. And that shift opens the door to a home that feels calmer, not because the mess is gone, but because you're not carrying it alone. If this hits home, let me know in the comments. I want to know what's one small shift you're willing to try today. And if you haven't joined the waitlist for my book, it is still open. Waitlist for my book, Break the Cycle, Not Yourself. The link is in the description. And again, this book is full of these conversations from real mamas, and it was written for you. So I would love for you to be able to have this tool with you to help you be reminded of the community, of the village, of the support that you have in your time of need, but also knowing that you have strategy, you have real life stories that can show you that they too were in those positions and this is what they did to find relief. So let's stop living under pressure that doesn't serve us. Let's choose honesty over hustle. Let's raise our kids in homes where we can breathe too. Once again, thank you guys for joining me, and I hope to catch you next week.